is up, everybody? Welcome back to the CrownHoops Podcast. My name is Jordan Daly. With me this week, we have Stacey Collier and Ben Okazawa. Say what's up, guys.
What's up?
What's going on?
No Mike this week, so we're just going to roll on without him. We're on to episode number 40 now. It's crazy. It's still crazy to me how far we've gotten along in this.
40.
Right? 10 more, and that's a big milestone for us. So we'll have to do something special for that, whether it's like a giveaway to someone that listens or something. I don't know, but we got to do something for that. So that'll be fun. But let's kind of hop right into it. Last week, we kind of talked about everything new with the NBA starting back up, all the new rule changes, everything like that. But a couple players have kind of spoken out saying that they're not really sure if the NBA should be starting up right now. One of the players leading the charge on that is Kyrie Irving. He doesn't really want the NBA to resume. Of course, you know, COVID is a huge concern, but his concern was more mainly if the NBA comes back, it'll be a distraction to all of the social change going on right now in regards to, you know, the Black Lives Matter protests, everything with George Floyd, like we talked about last week. And he believes that, you know, the NBA comes back and that kind of takes the eye off of, you know, the real problems in the world right now. Players like Avery Bradley and Dwight Howard also made comments kind of agreeing to that and definitely siding with Kyrie in that aspect. But what are your thoughts on that as a whole? Do you guys agree with Kyrie, disagree with Kyrie? What are your thoughts? Stacey, I'll start with you this time.
Okay. First, I actually agree with Kyrie with the NBA using their platform to promote social reform, to support the whole Black Lives Matter movement, to support combating police brutality and inequality in every facet of American life. But I also think on the other side that having NBA games still will do wonders, and it won't be like a distraction in terms of what he's thinking about. Like, first, during the games, they can use that commercial time to promote different things that goes on into the movement, that goes on into social reform. You can post stories about what's going on in our community, and then push for social change through commercials, through different advertising things and stuff like that. So I don't think it's going to be a distraction in that sense. I mean, we can use some NBA basketball. I mean, the focus, what we pushing towards, that's not gonna go away. And the NBA, in my mind, won't distract us from reaching that ultimate goal. As a matter of fact, like I was saying, they can use those games to get to that ultimate goal. And also, you know, canceling the whole. See, the thing is, okay, like, it's not going to, this whole thing about pushing for social change and all that, it's not going to be overnight. So if they stop the NBA season and focus on that, how long are they willing to keep the NBA away and focus on this? Because it's not going to take a month, 2 months. We talking, it's going to take probably a year, 2 years or something like that. So is Kyrie that willing to push aside the NBA, or players are willing to push aside the NBA for the long haul in order to fight this? I don't know if that's plausible for them. And there are a lot of players, some players even on Kyrie's team, that they need the NBA. They need to continue to make their money so they can support their family and keep their standard of living. So, you know, it's a slippery slope, but I do agree with Kyrie about the NBA focus on change, and I don't blame him for thinking that way, but I think that the games should go on, and as long as they use those games to promote what the ultimate goal is, then that's fine.
I kind of like how you said that, you know, they can kind of use the NBA can kind of take advantage of the games going on. So you were bringing up, like, during commercial breaks, they could do, like, ads based on, you know, what's going on in people's communities. I like how you said that. But, you know, these players are going to be on national TV again. That's giving them a whole new platform that they haven't had in a few months because of all this COVID stuff. So, you know, a couple of years ago, I think I used this example last week when Derrick Rose started the I Can't Breathe T-shirt movements, where they all wore those shirts in their warm-ups. You know, it's pretty much televised, even when they're just warming up on the court. So I guarantee you, players can do things like that. I wouldn't be surprised to see players taking a knee if they play the anthem. I definitely see this as an opportunity for some of the bigger players to make a statement and kind of help push for that change. I get where Kyrie's coming from, where he may see it as a distraction. I think how he worded it was like, if there's a protest going on, people are going to want to go home early so they can watch the game, and he doesn't want that happening. But I mean, there's other ways to do it as well. So it's interesting. But Ben, what are your thoughts on this?
Yeah, I mean, before I even say anything, I just want to make clear that obviously not being black nor being involved in the NBA in any way, I don't have the same perspective that Kyrie does, so I'm not going to pretend to understand where he's coming from. So I can't really understand 100% where he's coming from. But that being said, I think he has a point for sure. Like, people who could be protesting, donating money, signing petitions, etc., are going to be sitting at home watching the game. But in that same sense, having people all watching you, like you said, Jordan, gives you a huge platform to kind of promote this stuff. And I mean, looking back at, Kyrie's side of things, canceling a whole season of a sport that has millions of fans, like such a quickly growing sport in America, would make a huge statement. And I think it could be really beneficial, because that would make a lot of people who don't take this seriously right now start to take it more seriously. But like Stacey said, at the same time, how many seasons are they going to have to cancel? Because this isn't just a overnight type of thing. This is something that's been happening for centuries, and will likely persist for the rest of our lives, unfortunately. So how many seasons are they going to have to cancel for their voices to be truly heard and for real change to be made? And are people willing? Players, are they willing to let those paychecks go, because that's feeding their family directly as playing in these games? So it's tough. I mean, I see both sides of it, and obviously the players are very divided over it. So hopefully they can all come to a decision one way or another. And I mean, I personally would love, in my own selfish way, to see the NBA resume. But whatever they decide is best for them and for their people, it's the way she goes.
Yeah, and I mean, it's definitely like a touchy subject, but it's definitely something that needs to be talked about, I guess. So I mean, we'll keep following up on that, I guess. But yeah, Stacey, back to something you said. I saw a quote earlier today. I don't remember who said it. It was a player that doesn't really get many minutes, but it was basically what you were saying. He was saying that, he needs to get back on the court. He needs a paycheck. Not everyone has a contract like LeBron James or James Harden, Russell Westbrook. Not everyone in the NBA has that huge payday. Some guys literally rely on their contract just to get them through the month. So, there's that aspect as well. But kind of staying on this topic, Enes Kanter a few weeks ago made a statement saying that he's talked to a bunch of his players. He's a journeyman. He's been to a bunch of teams, so he probably has friends all across the league. He was saying that he's talked to a bunch of players, and he kept insinuating like big stars, big names that have talked about sitting out, kind of because a combination of COVID and everything that's going on with the Black Lives Matter movement as well, like Kyrie was talking about. And he was saying you wouldn't even believe who these players are that would sit out. It would make this huge change. And that could even lead to the NBA calling it. Because if a guy like LeBron James sits out, James Harden sits out, those big names like that, at that point, the NBA might be like, okay, maybe we do need to call it for a season. And then one of you guys were telling me before we started recording that Malcolm Brogdon said something similar, right? Yep. Okay. So I kind of wanted to get your opinions on that. And see, do you guys think that could change the outcome of how the NBA handles the situation? Stacey?
Now, if a whole bunch of big names like Enes Kanter said that they want to sit out, then the NBA will have no choice at that point but to cancel the season, understandably so. If like people like Giannis, LeBron, Harden says that this is more important. The games are not important. They're willing to throw away the rest of the season. Then the NBA should follow suit and say, okay, we're not going to play any games. We're going to focus on not only social reform but continue on putting in safety measures. So when we do come back, we can not only open it up to the players but to the fans as well, get them back to the arena. So if what Enes Kanter say is valid, if what he says is true, there's a lot of big stars that want to sit out, and stories come out that this star, that star wants to sit out, then the NBA, they're going to have to just cancel the rest of the season.
Yeah, and I mean, on LeBron, I think it was it Pat Bev? I think he said if LeBron plays, we all play, something like that. But Ben, what are your thoughts on this whole situation?
I think it's interesting. I mean, just trying to think of who Kanter could be talking about. He's played in Portland, so first name comes to mind would be Dame, who's been very vocal about just social change, political change. He's dropped songs about it. He's been at the protests, and I haven't heard him say anything about the season starting back up. So I wouldn't be surprised if he was one of the people Kanter's talking about. And then Westbrook as well has been at protests, and haven't heard him mention anything about coming back. So I wouldn't be surprised if he's another name that Kanter could be talking about. So, I mean, guys like that, I mean, it would definitely make it harder for the league to come back in a big way and for people to get excited about, because Portland is a big topic of discussion right now because they were able to slip in even though they weren't in playoff contention at the time the season shut down. So to see what they can do as a former, higher seed in the West. Same thing with Houston. People want to see if Houston can challenge those LA teams. So if they've got, some of their best players sitting out, it would be not quite the same and would put even further an asterisk on this whole entire season. So.
And that's the next question I was going to ask. Every time I can, I find a way to ask this question about an asterisk coming for the champion. So if a guy like LeBron or Giannis or Harden sits out to kind of focus on this social change and the social reform, at that point, is there an asterisk at the end? I mean, with everything combined together, at what point does an asterisk get put at the name of the finals champion? And you guys can just go for it.
Oh, yeah, it's definitely going to be an asterisk. If we got stars sitting out due to social change or even COVID-19, and then we had the whole stop and then restart and the whole playing in the bubble and all that stuff, it's definitely going to be an asterisk next to the champion. And, it's going to be kind of a shame because that team, whoever wins it, they went through a lot to get to that championship. But no, it's going to be the most unremarkable, and it's not many people gonna remember who the champion was in 2020. So it's definitely gonna be an asterisk.
Ben?
I mean, I can see a lot of people putting an asterisk on this season's champion. It's been that way for a long time though. Like people put an asterisk on the Raptors championship last year, the Cavs championship because Draymond was suspended, the Warriors championship when Kyrie and Kevin Love both were injured in the finals. People are always going to try to discredit the champs. For me personally, if you win the NBA, you win the NBA. If you're the world champions, you're the world champions. Whether it's the Warriors, Cavs, Raptors, whoever wins this season, a chip is a chip. End of the day. But it'll definitely, obviously, it's under very different circumstances. But regardless, they earned it and they won. So for me, there's no asterisk.
Okay. I'm kind of torn. At one point, I mean, like, if you take a superstar out, that's game changing. You take Giannis out of the East is wide open. You take LeBron out of the Lakers aren't really favored to come out of the West anymore, in my opinion. So it's definitely, that aspect of it makes me want to put an asterisk next to it. But Ben, you brought up a great point of how many times in the past have we been like, oh, well, they shouldn't have won because this happened. And it's like, yeah, so I'm kind of torn in the middle there.
Sorry to cut you off, but
No,
this year is different though. This is to say the least a crazy year. It's been a crazy year. So like it's been a lot going on. So I don't really compare this year's champion, if there is gonna be one, to years past, because it was still basketball going on. Like this year is just way too much stuff going on.
Okay. So another question I have for you guys. So we've seen, we haven't seen. We may see players sit out because of this. Do you guys think it could be possible for a whole team to just say no, we're not doing it? Like, and in my opinion, if the Dallas Mavericks had any sort of a chance, knowing how vocal Mark Cuban's been about this whole situation, I feel like he would have just not sent his team, and I feel like his team would have backed them for the most part. Do you think we may see a team just completely pull out of the tournament?
That's tough to say, because I think some of these teams are divided. I think there's players that want to be there, there are players that don't want to be there. I don't see a scenario where there's a whole team that's willing to pull out. But if there is a whole team that's willing to pull out, then again, like, you can't just make them play. You gotta just cancel the season. So I don't see it right now. I don't see a whole team pulling out, but I wouldn't be surprised if they do.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't think it would happen either. I can't see it happening. If anything, it would either be Brooklyn, just because Kyrie's been so vocal about it, or like you said, I wouldn't be surprised if it was Dallas, just because Mark Cuban is such a player's owner, I guess.
Yeah, and another team that came to my mind right away was Portland, because they were the only team to say no to all of this to begin with. And then, say Dame sits out. The reason they said no is because Dame spoke up and didn't really want it. So it'd be interesting to see how they kind of go about that as well. But we'll kind of end that topic there, continuing on about the remainder of the NBA season with some available free agents. I kind of wanted to hear your guys' thoughts to see if there were any players you'd like to see signed by some teams that you really think they could help them get that extra little push. Because there are a good amount of free agents available. Some of the top ones right now that we have are Isaiah Thomas, DeMarcus Cousins, J.R. Smith, Jamal Crawford, and Joakim Noah. Obviously, there's many more as well. But kind of wanted to get your guys' thoughts. Ben, we'll start with you this time.
Well, they extended the roster upper limit to 17, right?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so I'm assuming not only that, but also if they have people sitting out, let's say, one big thing I saw on social media is if Dwight Howard, who's been vocal about calling the season, decides to sit out, DeMarcus Cousins obviously has been around the Lakers since they cut him. It was more of like a let him go and then bring him back next season or for the playoffs whenever he's healthy type situation. So if Dwight Howard decides to sit out, or even if he doesn't, DeMarcus Cousins coming in could be really beneficial for the Lakers. And even J.R. Smith as well. I know he had worked out for the Lakers before they picked up Dion Waiters. So I wouldn't be surprised if he goes there or somewhere else. He's definitely still in playing shape. He still could put in work on an NBA team. As for the other guys, not 100% sure. I doubt Isaiah Thomas would get picked up by anyone. Jamal Crawford, Joakim Noah, kind of similar. I can't see them getting picked up. I would expect teams to fill those extra roster spots to just pick up younger guys or veterans who have been around the NBA more recently and in a bigger role. But it'll be interesting to see what teams do with those 2 extra roster spots, because that's essentially just 2 extra people that they can pick up without having to lose anyone or trade anyone. So I can't wait to see what my team does, and it'll be interesting to see how the whole league plays it.
And I'm not positive, I think so, correct me if I'm wrong, that they can also bring up 2-way contract players to fill those spots as well. So, like, for example, the Celtics could pull Taco Fall and make him one of those roster spots if they really wanted to.
Yeah.
But so that's another option that they have. But Stacey, what are your thoughts on the free agents?
I could see for sure DeMarcus Cousins joining the team, whether that the top teams that I've been hearing about, the Lakers, obviously, and the Miami Heat. I could see him joining the team because out of all these players on this list, I think he's the most ready despite injury, just because he was around the Lakers already. and he's been training and everything. J.R. Smith, I can also see him getting picked up just because he's a 3-point shooter and you're going to need that. So, but the other, Joakim Noah, I was saying about him about the Clippers. So, even if the NBA comes back, then I think he's quickly going to join the Clippers because I think he almost had a deal in place with them before the season got shut down. But sorry, Jordan, I don't see Isaiah Thomas joining the team. I just, unfortunately, his career just, I don't want to say over, but
it's kind of looks like it's quickly fading.
It looks like it's just fading out. And Jamal Crawford, I'm surprised that nobody has signed Jamal Crawford. I don't know if he's asking for a lot of money for the remainder of the season, but I'm surprised nobody picked him up. He just played last year and he was effective.
I think he had a 50-point game at the end of last season, no?
Yeah, I think so. And I just find that very odd because he can provide some scoring punch off the bench still. So more than likely DeMarcus Cousins will be on the team for sure. I think he's far and above the most attractive free agent on this list.
Yeah, I would agree. If anyone from that list is to go, it's definitely going to be DeMarcus Cousins. He's definitely the most NBA ready compared to the rest of the names on that list. Like you guys mentioned, I could see the Lakers. And same with JR. I could easily see him going to the Lakers with LeBron. They played in the playoffs before. Obviously, that was that one big mishap everyone knows where exactly Stacey JR kind of fudged up a little bit and just we're not going to go there. But I could absolutely see him going back to the Lakers, play with LeBron. They know how to play together. They've done it before. So that would be a smart signing by the Lakers, in my opinion. Jamal Crawford, he's such an interesting. He would be a high risk, high reward, low risk, high reward. Sorry. There's no real bad thing about signing him, but then you have the chance where you have a NBA vet that could give some great bench minutes for a team that's trying to make a push for the deeper into the playoffs, or even one of those teams that is trying to just get into the playoffs. You bring Jamal Crawford on, that's a huge help off the bench. So I would be. He's another player, like, I don't understand why he's not on a roster right now. And like Stacey said, maybe he's just asking for a ton of money, but I don't see that. I wouldn't be surprised to see him sign on like a vet minimum just to get in the league and play again. Isaiah Thomas, you guys both said you don't see him playing again. There has been a lot of chatter on Weird Celtics Twitter. The fans want him back. It's tough. We're pretty set at the point guard position, but that's one of those things. Like, if we have 2 extra roster spots, why not take a risk? He played well in the Brad Stevens system and it worked. Why not give it another try if we have 2 free roster spots, pretty much? So I would not be surprised to see him hop onto the Celtics for a minimum contract. I really wouldn't be surprised to see that. I think it was 2 years ago now when he was in Denver. He came back to Boston. This was like his first time back, in air quotes, because he had come back before but wasn't playing. So this was his first time playing again. And a fan went up to him and was like, "We miss you." And as he was walking away, he said, "I'll be back." So I really wouldn't be surprised if the Celtics could get him to sign for a minimum. I think they'd absolutely pull the trigger on that. Where it comes into problems is if he asks for a lot of money and tries to get them to back the Brinks truck up, because at this point, no one's doing that. Joakim Noah is another one of those NBA vets. I didn't hear the Clippers, but that would be a good fit, in my opinion. He kind of fits their system. But yeah, any other thoughts on the free agents?
Joakim Noah and Pat Bev on one team. They're
literally like. Man, I would not want to get into a fight with that team. They're stacked.
Both of them hate LeBron. So, like, it's just going to be just a whole bunch of,
And that's what I'm saying, man. I really hope they mic up the players. I think that would be outstanding.
Yeah. I heard someone did like a example or like a test run or whatever of the 2K crowd sounds thing, and it looks stupid.
Oh, man. I saw someone made like a video edit. It was of, the NBA's most iconic playoff moments, but they somehow edited the crowd out. it looked so weird. It was like almost eerie. And they would like keep going back and forth between like the full crowd and all the cheering, and then just like silence and like the sound of the ball hitting the floor and like sneakers squeaking. That was it. It was so weird. I don't know. They got to do something. But yeah, we'll kind of move on. In terms of video games, the PlayStation 5 was just announced. In their announcement, they did a 2K21 reveal trailer. It was very short. I think it was like 30-ish seconds, something like that. It featured Zion in a gym on his own, going for a dunk, and then they kind of zoomed in on his face so you could see the beads of sweat. Graphics looked insane, but I feel like every single NBA 2K trailer, they just try to show that they can add more sweat beads to a player's face. I feel like that's all they do every year, and it never looks like that. So we'll see. But I mean, the first thing we got to talk about with this reveal trailer is, why was it Zion in the trailer? Stacey.
I think they about to do it. I think 2K is about to pull that trigger and put Zion on the cover. I think they about to do it. I mean, Zion is money. I know he really didn't earn it. He only played like 25 games, which he had an impressive 25 games, by the way. But, hey, I think they're going to do it. And they got to stop doing it. They got to stop adding more sweat to the graphics and trying to suck us in. Yeah, I know what we really want in game. We want better. We want realer player movement and all that stuff. And I want to make a layup without missing it, even though I did it right. I want to do that. Don't do that to me, 2K. Y'all not gonna fool me with this sweat. But I think Zion's gonna be that front cover, man. Why make a trailer with him and just him, and Jim by himself? It's all got the shadows, dark corner and all that, without putting him on the cover. It wouldn't make much sense to me. So, congratulations, Zion. You got 2K21.
Yeah, in my opinion, 2K either did something really stupid or really smart. They're either going to be really stupid and they're going to put Zion on the cover, or they're really smart and going to give us a teaser of Zion in the video so everyone starts talking about 2K21, and then it's just a huge, great marketing scheme, and they put someone else on the cover. But Ben, what are your thoughts on it?
Yeah, the trailer kind of screams that they're going to put him on the cover, but I really hope that they don't. I don't think he deserves it. Like Stacey said, that was an incredible first 20-some-odd games. I mean, averaging, more than 20 points on, like, 56% shooting or something like that. Very impressive. It's, if he had a full season, I would have loved to have seen what he did. And if he had a full rookie season, then I feel like he could deserve potentially a cover spot. But he doesn't, because he played like a quarter of a season. So I hope they don't put him in. As for how I feel about the trailer, yeah, like both you guys said, it's like they do it every year. From 2K like 16 onwards, they're just kind of changing the graphics, and hopefully, they do something kind of real, something a bit more drastic by changing the gameplay. But this tweaking the graphic, adding more sweat, like you guys said, doesn't really excite me. So as of now, I won't expect to be picking up 2K21 for $100 or whatever.
Yeah, it's going to be ridiculous. Listen, I just want a new park. They've used the same park for the past 2 games, and it's really stupid. But once I saw the reveal trailer, I went back a couple of years and watched the past few reveal trailers as well. None of the reveal trailers just had one player, but the reveal trailer always had the cover athlete in it. So last year or technically this year, it was Anthony Davis as the cover athlete. He wasn't the prominent player in the reveal trailer, but he was in it. So, I mean, it's tough to judge because Zion was the only person in it. There was literally just an empty gym in Zion. I really, really, really hope it's not Zion. I feel like that's so disrespectful to not only every NBA player that played more games than him, Ja Morant specifically, who's also a rookie and dominated an entire season. That's just a slap in the face to him.
Yeah, but he's not Zion money though. That's different level.
Exactly. I'm not saying Ja should be a cover athlete this year, but he's probably going to be rookie of the year this year. That's a huge thing that, if he's rookie of the year and Zion gets the cover athlete for playing 16 games, that's Kind of pathetic in my opinion.
I mean, we had this debate like who else we're gonna put on the cover. There's money like that.
That's the thing.
We just went through we already went through like every superstar basically. So
yeah,
who else is left?
Yeah, like Ja had a better season. I was gonna say he's a better player. I won't go that far, but you can't call that yet. But he had a better season. Zion is the more electric player with more hype surrounding him as far as casual fans, I would say. And it's a lot of casual fans that play 2K, so.
Also true. Yeah, Zion just brings a lot of money, like you said, Stacey. So I follow like basketball cards a lot, and I kind of buy and sell those. And like Zion Williamson rookie cards are selling for like thousands of dollars. Thousands of dollars for a piece of cardboard of a player that's played like 16 games. It just blows my mind. Whatever. We're going to move on before I get too heated. But speaking of heated, Ben's going to do the hot takes.
Yeah, so first hot take. I feel like they always kind of come from ESPN. This one's first take. Max Kellerman said that Harden is not a top 5 player in the NBA right now. It's kind of tough for me. Like, I feel like he's kind of on the cusp there. But I would have him in my top 5. What do you think, Stacey? Is Harden top 5 player?
He said James Harden's not a top 5 player. He is. He's like, there's like no debating. He is top 5 player in the NBA. I'm sorry. I know his argument probably like he hasn't led the Rockets to a championship or something like that.
Exactly what he said. Yeah.
So like I understand that, but we talking about individual, and individual just by himself. We are judging where they rank, and Harden is a top 5 player. And is he number 1? No, but he's in that top 5 somewhere.
Yeah, no, I agree. He's one of the best scorers in the league right now, arguably the best scorer in the league right now. And team success, it's kind of iffy on whether it affects personal rankings or not. But Jordan, I'll go over to you. Do you think Harden's a top 5 player in the league?
Definitely. I'm curious. Did he say who he had over Harden?
I didn't watch the full thing. I just I know he did not take Harden in his top 5.
Yeah, that's my thing. I'm trying to think of 5 players that could possibly be listed over him. And like you said, in my opinion, too, he's one of the best scorers of all time, not even just this season. You know, how he can score the ball is just deep 3-pointers. He can drive it in. He can shoot mid-range. He can pretty much do anything to get the ball in the hoop.
And he's not an awful defensive player either.
No, and I feel like he used to have some kind of stereotype against him that he never really played defense. He'd kind of be slow to back up. And there was a season or two where he was like that, but he's definitely changed that. This season specifically, he's been pretty great on defense.
Yeah, I mean, he's got good size at the position, so definitely even Max said himself, like, he can guys can't post up on James Harden just because he's so sturdy. He's like 6'5", 6'6" at the shooting guard position, so he plays solid defense. He can shoot. Obviously, his whole thing with drawing fouls, he can score at the rim. So I'm not sure who you would take above Harden, but it's tough not having him in your top 5 right now. But I'll move on to the next hot take. So ESPN's NBA insiders expect the Blazers to take the number 8 seed out west over teams like the Grizzlies and Pelicans. Jordan, who do you have taking the 8 seed out west?
I was between the Grizzlies and the Pelicans. Personally, I do not want the Grizzlies in because we have their pick. So if they make the playoffs, if they miss the playoffs, we get a lottery pick, the Celtics. So I'm definitely rooting against the Grizzlies. But Blazers were not on my radar, especially if Dame sits out. Blazers are nowhere on my radar for 8 seed.
Yeah, I mean, to me, it doesn't really matter who takes the 8 seed. You're getting absolutely demolished by that number 1 spot.
Exactly.
It'll probably be the Lakers. But Blazers are, as things stand right now, pretty far out of that 8 seed. And they don't have a whole lot of time to make it up. So I think it would be cool if the Grizzlies could take it, see if they can put up any sort of a fight against whoever takes that 1 spot. But Stacey, do you think the Blazers can take the number 8 seed?
Honestly, especially if Dame plays and he doesn't sit out, I think they can take over that AC in the West. Because I think if they now have a shot to make the playoffs and they're going to be hungry for it versus a young team who really don't really know what they're doing. And we talking about the Grizzlies and the Pelicans here, who are the two youngest teams in the West, or among the youngest teams in the West. And I think the Blazers, with those veteran players, they'll get another crack at being in the playoffs and try to do some damage. I think they're gonna take that very seriously and get that AC. And honestly, I would like to see the Blazers in the playoffs over the Grizzlies and the Pelicans this year, just because I think versus whoever their number one seed is, whether it's the Clippers or the Lakers, I think they can give them more of a fight, more of a push than the Grizzlies or the Pelicans. Because I think if one of those two teams they get in, they getting swept.
Yeah.
And personally, I don't like sweeps. Personally, can we get to 5? Can we get to at least 5, a competitive 5? So, I'm taking the Blazers in that argument.
Yeah, that's a fair point, actually. I would prefer to see the Blazers in that 8 seed. I still think it would be cool to see the Grizzlies there, just with Jolly in them as a rookie and an exciting young squad. But either way, I guess we'll find out when the season starts back up, July 30th. Jordan, I will give it back to you.
Awesome. And one more thing on that. I mean, it's definitely anything's pretty much possible because of that new play-in rule. So, I mean, even if the Blazers are 9th seed, but they're within 4 games, I think it was 4 games to that 8th seed, they could play their way into the playoffs pretty much, which is really interesting. But yeah, like you guys said, I would definitely like to see. I mean, I get your point. I've seen the Blazers into that 8th seed because I definitely think out of those 3 teams, they're probably the most playoff ready, although the standings don't really say that. They have the experience for the playoffs, I guess, is what I'm trying to say.
And I would say Dame is the most clutch player in the NBA. So.
Oh yeah, some of the shots he's hit.
Yeah, if you put him in a position to win a game or to get back into the playoffs, I feel like he's gonna put it into overdrive. So.
100%. But yeah, we'll move on. We'll end the episode as we always do with a mystery player debate. This one was good. I wasn't expecting these players to be so close. So, start off with player A. We have a small forward shooting guard, played from 1994 to 2013. In 33.9 minutes a game, he averaged 16.7 points, 6 rebounds, 4.1 assists, and 1.2 steals a game. He shot the ball 48.3% from the field and 31.4% from deep. Player B is a shooting guard who played from 1987 to 2005. He played in 34.3 minutes a game. He averaged 18.2 points, 3 rebounds, 3 assists, 1.1 steals, and he shot the ball 47.1% from the field and 39.5% from deep. Who are you guys taking, and who do you think they are?
I know who player B is. I know it. I'm taking player A though, surprisingly.
Okay.
Because more rebounds. He seems like to me the better defender of the two. Although his 3-point shot is terrible, but I'll take player A. He's the better all around player. So, but I think I know who B is.
All right, I'll make sure you get the first guess, Ben, because you got robbed last week. I remember that.
Yeah, you did. I'll be taking player B here. 39.5% from deep, scoring more. Still seems like a solid defensive player. 1.1 steals is nothing to laugh at. So, yeah, I'll take player B.
Okay, so we got 2 separate ones here. Stacey, who do you think player B is and why?
I think player B is Reggie Miller. I think it's Reggie Miller. And I say that because the year 1987, and then the shooting, the 47%, and then the 39.5 3-point shooting, like who else in that draft could shoot like that? That's my question, but I think it's Reggie Miller.
Okay. Ben, do you agree? Or do you have another guess?
I think we've done Reggie Miller before, but seems like Reggie Miller to me. Shooting guard, 18 points, almost 40% from deep. Yeah, I'll take Reggie Miller.
Player B is Reggie Miller. But have we done it before? I don't think we did.
I think we might have, yeah.
I think we mentioned him before.
I think we mentioned him in comparison, but I don't think we used him.
Or someone thought that a player was Reggie Miller, but it wasn't actually Reggie Miller, maybe.
Yeah, that could have been it. That could have been it. Any guesses on who player A is?
Yeah, that was tough. 94 to 2013.
Feel free to ask me questions about the player as well.
What teams he played for?
Okay, so he's played for a lot of teams. He played for Detroit, Orlando, Phoenix, and he ended his career 1 year with the Clippers. What else can I tell you? He's a 7-time All-Star, 5-time All-NBA. He is in the Hall of Fame.
2013. So you must have been pretty much first ballot then.
And I will also say that an injury changed his career.
Oh, I know who it is.
Stacey, can you go 2 for 2?
Is it Grant Hill?
It is Grant Hill.
Okay, that would have been my guess too.
Hill.
Very nice.
Unfortunately, the injury part gave it away.
Yeah.
I was trying to hold back on that, but
I didn't know he played for the Clippers.
Yeah, final season he ended his career, and it was interesting. Like, I was looking at his stat sheet when I was making this together, and there's like a span of like 4 or 5 years where he barely played. Yeah. He barely played. He, 22.
But did you see his? I know you saw his first 4 or 5 years. Man,
outstanding. Yeah, and
outstanding.
He's always been one of those players that people tend to look back on and be like, oh, what if this guy never got hurt? He was just hitting his prime, injured. So he got injured when he was 28, which was the last time he was an All-Star, which really is confusing to me, right? I'm looking at these stats, right? He was an All-Star when he was 28, but he only played 4 games.
Mm-hmm.
So, I'm confused on how that happened. I'll have to look back into it. But it has him listed, 28 years old, 2000 to 2001 season, as an All-Star, which is really weird. He played 4 games. But yeah, he didn't even play the whole 03-04 season. Came back the next year at 32 years old with Orlando and got his final All-Star appearance. And then he kind of took it easy. It's crazy that he played till he was 40 years old. That was crazy to me. I didn't really know that about him. I kind of just thought after Detroit it was kind of it for him, but no, he had a pretty long career, and I didn't really know that.
Yeah.
So that's why I like doing these mystery player debates, because I learn a lot.
I remember personally. I remember him in Phoenix, but by that time he got to Phoenix, he wasn't the same as Detroit.
Yeah.
But he is like one of the greatest what if stories in the NBA.
For sure. And me and my friends, we always play 2K, and I have this thing called the Wham Squad, because my play style is all about dunks, and he is on that Wham Squad.
Yeah.
Because he can dunk it like crazy, but he cannot shoot threes. He has like a D-3, and it's terrible. Which Stacey mentioned when he was talking about the stats. So it definitely adds up. But yeah, that's gonna do it for this episode. I'm pretty sure. Episode 40 of the CrownHoops Podcast. As always, my name is Jordan Daly. With me this week we had Stacey Collier and Ben Okazawa. And we'll see you guys next week.